Shall we begin? Let's begin now.
All right, everybody. Welcome back to a brand new episode of the Frankly Francisco podcast. Today, I had to get these fellas on. They are two of three of the host of the Kardiac Dawgs podcast. I'd like to introduce everybody to Chef Boy Ortiz and Dewop. How we doing, gentlemen?
What's good, man?
Always
Glad to be on your show, dog.
So listen, I had to bring you guys on because we have just wrapped up a season of the Kardiac Dawgs podcast. And I wanted to talk to you guys and see what was the inspiration behind this. For you, this was your baby. You cultivated this. This was in your pipeline for how I don't know how long. What was the process for you to try to get this thing off the ground?
So, ironically, my favorite player retired and then moved into broadcasting himself, Joe Thomas. Did a little time with broadcasting school, and then, life happens. Bills got to get paid. I don't have time. I had other responsibilities. But ironically, so I started like the Facebook page like 2 days after my birthday, like 2019. And then it's just kind of went from there. I'd post stuff, like I'd reshare like Browns articles or stuff like that and give my little sarcastic 2 cents, and people seem to enjoy it. And the more people I kept hearing other podcasts where I'm like, man, I know I could do this better than them. I mean, it's a little arrogant, but hey, I mean, the stats have proven it. But now we're here, found you guys, and we've kind of hit the ground running.
So, Chef, you're one of the most toxic and passionate Browns fans I've ever met in my life. Your passion for your team goes. I mean, you bleed. The orange of the Browns, the brown and orange. But where does that come from, though? Where does that passion come from for the Browns?
I mean, really, it's just loyalty for my city, man. Like, I'm born and raised in Cleveland. You know what I'm saying? And growing up, I was here for, I'm born in the early 80s. I was born in 83. So I really didn't get to enjoy and live out, the early 80s when the Browns were successful. But always been a fan of football. And I mean, obviously, like I said, this is a city that I rep. When they left and came back, when they left, I became an NFC fan. So I jumped on the Rams bandwagon when it was the greatest show on turf. So, I enjoyed good football. I know. Hey, I didn't have a team. You know what I'm saying? What you going to do? So that's kind of who I jumped to. But when they came back, man, and it was just like the excitement and just, just the love and reverence I have for my city, I had to become a Browns fan again. And, it kind of sticks like that, man. I never wavered, you know what I'm saying? Even through the really bad seasons and stuff, it's difficult to watch. It frustrates you. Don't get me wrong. It definitely wears you the hell out. But I'm always going to rep, man. It's Cleveland, man. Cleveland all day.
So, Duwab, you have a football mind, man. The stats you can pull, and just by watching the game, same thing with Chef Boy, but Duwab, especially for you just for some reason, you were a machine, man. Your history and you can watch one game and you know what happened like the second minute of the game, what play it was and who called it and who ran it. How does that stay fresh in your mind? Like, how do you manage to hold that kind of information?
All right, I'm gonna need you to relax. My big head won't fit on the screen if you keep talking me into it. So a lot of it, ironically, is just growing up. I never got a chance really to play much. Like, I always wanted to play football. I tried dearly, and I realized, like, obviously, I always had the size. I mean, you've met me in person. I'm not the biggest human being, but I mean, I'm kind of close. But I realized, like, talent really only takes you so far. So I kind of just got in the habit of watching things too much.
Mm-hmm.
So I got like the film side down. Again, I've made the joke about like the NFL Plus stuff on the podcast. Thankfully, like stuff like that, you can rewatch like condensed versions of the games, like the all 22s, and it just becomes fun because, especially watching other people in kind of our field breaking down other stuff, it still is always a thing where I'm still learning, but it's fun to get to talk to other people, to watch them kind of, to watch that their knowledge of the game kind of expand a bit. So I don't know if I'm, Sean McVay or nothing, but If anybody wants to try, I'm open. I'll quit my day job.
And then Chef Boy, you have an obscene ability to break down a defense. Like, was that your thing growing up? Did you want to be a defensive coach? Where did that come from? Because when we talk and we talk defense, man, you break down plays like it's unbelievable.
Well, I mean, I played corner, and secondary is kind of where I had high school, and I didn't have the size like doo-wop. You know what I'm saying? I couldn't play in the college level, but no, man, my whole family, everybody's been we've talked about my brothers and stuff, and my father, and we come from a household where defense was huge. My younger brother played DB for the Arena League football teams. My brother Shaq, who's everybody knows Shaq Washington, man. He was on the defensive side, but he was so good. He moved over to quarterback and wide receiver at University of Cincinnati. But no, man, I mean, it's just I love film study. I love looking at tape. I love looking at plays and the way they design. And like I said, my father always instilled like this aggressiveness in us when we played defense, coaching Pop Warner and stuff. First play of the game, he would just send everybody off sides. First play, no matter what, every time. Sack the quarterback, hit the quarterback, and everybody be like, "What are you doing?" It's the first play. Everybody just jumps offside and hits the quarterback. It's just to instill that aggressiveness, and everybody knew it was coming. So like every team we played, they knew like, man, this first play, the quarterback's like, he's about to get hit. But yeah, man, defense is just I love defense. I love the aggressiveness in it and just the strategy. You know what I'm saying? Just being able to stop somebody else doing what they want to do and trying to figure that out has always been something that I enjoy doing and stuff. So I take pride in that and try to study as much as I can.
So Dua, with this podcast, how did you know 3 voices were going to be what was needed for this podcast to take off and start being successful? Because from what I'm seeing right now, I mean, the followers on Facebook is over 5K. You're starting to build the audience on IG, Twitter. You're building a big audience on. How did you know that 3 voices were going to do it for you?
So the funniest way of figuring that one out is normally it was me arguing with myself, and then it'd be like, I'd say something out loud, and I'd feel like part of me was always fighting with myself, and there was always a third person. No, but it just seems to fit, especially because we've all seen the certain shows where there's your 2 big namers, and it just always seems like they're paid to argue. Like regardless if morally they might agree, they always seem to be paid to argue. And I understand some things, some local radio shows, they seem like they get paid just to agree for 4 or 5 hours at a time. You run a smaller chance of that happening with 3 different personalities. Like I'm a big offensive person. Chef is obviously a defensive guy. I mean, it doesn't matter that my side of the ball means more, but
Nah, I mean, like you said, having an outside, not that you're an outsider. You were here in Cleveland, the Cleveland town, the city, and I think you kind of adapted. You always adopt that city you live in's team, kind of, even if it's not your like favorite team or whatever. But just to have like kind of a neutral voice who's not really like bought in as much as me and Doo-Wop are, just somebody to kind of level the playing field, because we might have an opinion that's very homerish, as you would call it. We might be sitting here looking at each other like, we both feel like this year is gonna be the year, and then you sitting back like, yeah, you guys out of your mind. you ain't going 500, and we'll be looking at each other like, this guy's delusional. What is he talking about? And you'd be absolutely right, unfortunately, most of the time when it comes to the Browns. But yeah, it's always good to have that kind of outside, not outsiders, but just a level-minded, voice in there that kind of that tempers the homerism, I guess you would say.
Well, listen, I lived in Cleveland for 20 plus years. I root for the Browns, but I'm a homer, but I'm a homer for my Giants. So I get the perspective you guys are coming from, but that's why I like, being a third voice on that show, because it gives you, like I said, it gives you, I'm not going to sit there and agree with you guys just because you guys are agreeing. I'm not going to say yes. If it's something that I find a value in, yes, I'm going to agree with you. But if not, then no, that just doesn't make any sense. I think the reason I think the audience is growing when it comes to that podcast is because it's authentic, man. We're not, we're not making money off of it right now. We're not getting paid to be yes men, to agree with everything. And we tell it like it is, but we do it in a respectful manner. We're not talking about people's families and, trying to hurt people and things of that nature. And I think a lot of these podcasters, they will go a little bit too far. sometimes when they're talking about these guys. And I think it's one of those things where it's a good cohesive unit that we are right now. And I think it's just going to continue to grow. Now, Duop, let me ask you a question. You handle all the social media for the podcast. What has been the biggest pain point for you when it comes to that, besides TikTok?
I guess handling. So naturally, I'm just not good at it. Like all my personal accounts, I hate posting. Like Facebook, we post the most on. It has the biggest reach and all that. But from like I don't remember the last thing I posted that was like my own on Facebook at least. I don't like to share updates. I don't like people knowing my business like that. Now I'll post the to my personal account. I'll reshare like any post we share, stuff like that. Any of my friends stuff that I'm like, all right, I'm gonna show a little love and support. I'll reshare stuff like that. But like, I don't go on there, especially Twitter. Like I have my own Twitter. I don't even know how many followers. I ain't been on my own Twitter, and I made one specifically so I started to get back into the habit. I don't remember the last thing I honestly posted. I don't want to be the person who goes out there and just has, the stupid dumb takes. Like you said, we don't talk about people's family. We try to be honest about stuff. Try to be real. I'm not going to go out and attack. Like I might talk all the smack about our D tackles. I'm not going to talk about anybody's family or manhood or anything like that. I'm definitely not trying to build something on like the hot take fodder. Like everybody's got something dumb to say. It takes talent to be consistently good at what you do, though. But the hardest thing with social media is realizing like there's some dumb. That's where I got my theory of like 90% of the people are stupid. Like 90% of Browns fans, I might love y'all. We all believe brown and orange. I understand, but some of y'all, out of that 90%, 50% of y'all don't even care about the numbers or box score. You just want a reason to drink and a reason to fight with somebody. The other, half of that 90%, y'all will just look at the box score. Y'all don't care about, did he actually look good? You don't watch the game. You'll just read the newspaper, check the Google, before you go to work Monday. So, this person had, Cooper had 5 catches, but you didn't watch him. You didn't actually see, did he beat man coverage here? Was he able to find the soft spot in the zone? Things like that. They're just wanting to be drunk and wanting to fight with somebody. And I mean, I'm all for it. But social media, people are nasty, bro. They'll say the dumbest things, and it's a reminder that humanity didn't come very far. There's still some humane people out there, but some of y'all need Jesus.
So, what about you, Chef Boy? Are you big on the social media side? Are you going to start to get more open and out there since you are on the Kardiac Dawgs podcast? Is it something that you want to expand on because you want people to get to know you? Do you have any plans on expanding on what you do online?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'll share a post here and there and everything. But like I said, what my whole thing is with social media, like you said, a lot of people on there just to hear themselves talk. You know what I'm saying? I'm not that type of person, so I don't really, put my opinion out there unless it's something I'm really adamant about. Like you see me, I'll put something on Facebook when I'm watching the game, and I'm just like, I can't hold it in. Like I gotta say this. I want people to know, like that was the stupidest thing I ever seen, or that play was like horrible. That'll get it out of me. But for the most part, what I'm saying, like social media, that's not I'm a live and in front person. You know what I'm saying? I like talking to people directly. Like how the conversations were. You've been around my family and stuff. I love having those face-to-face conversations and talking ball and talking shop. So when it comes to social media, like you said, I try to we need it obviously for what we're trying to do and what we're trying to build. So I'm going to try to, get involved as much as I can to boost that up, because obviously, this is the forum that we chose to try to do this in. So obviously we got to increase our following in Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all that kind of stuff. So I'm starting to get into it. Like I said, I'm a young old head. Like I'm like that person, like, man, get off that Instagram, all that Facebook stuff. But I'll get on there, you know what I'm saying, if I need to, but it's not definitely my cup of tea. I leave it to y'all techies to do all that kind of stuff.
So
I think he's being a little openly modest because nobody knows he's like our official OnlyFans guy. He's always on there, butt naked with stickers on him and stuff. But
that's the next line that we're gonna have for the Kardiac Dawgs, our OnlyFans page.
Yeah, the only dog.
So listen, what is coming up for what is the future of the podcast? What is coming up for the podcast? Because I know the season is over. Obviously, you have exit interviews coming up. People are going to be prepping for the draft. So what is it this year that we can expect from the Kardiac Dawgs podcast?
Expect the unexpected. So especially the off season, we've talked privately about it. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. I can promise you two things here. I'm gonna do my best to network over this time, especially outside of the season. We'll still, we're still gonna cover any breaking news that comes up. I think coming up we'll have, or no, we just finished up our last episode for the season. So the off season will be a lot of networking, trying, see if we can get maybe some new faces to guest on the episode, or to help spread the word. And also, I like the idea of being able to help other quality content creators, especially for the Browns. It's all community. Podcasting is all community, and the good people understand that. The only other thing I can promise is, hey, we're gonna throw some shit at the wall, see what sticks. Hey, I don't care. I'm not a good. I'm not. I like to think I'm a good enough coach to think we're just gonna go with what works. I don't need to be fancy, no tight end rounds. We're gonna go with what works. Take what the defense gives, and we'll see what happens. We'll try a handful of stuff though. I promise. I'm trying to get back to stream. Actually, streaming some stuff. I was a part of, not a part of. I listened to a pretty bigger Browns content creator do like Twitter Spaces earlier. I think that was pretty sweet. Actually, it was pretty dope. I'll be doing a lot of research. Ironically, I wasn't a great student until after I got out of school. Like, as soon as I graduated, now that we're doing this, I've spent more time, doing my homework than I ever have in my life.
So this question is for the both of you. What do you think has been the rise in the followership on Facebook? I mean, over 5K followers. That's amazing. Like, how did you, like, where do you think that came from? Because there's a bunch of people out there that do Browns content and they don't have nearly the followers that you do. So how did that how did that come to fruition? What do you think has been the catalyst for that? The question is for both.
Jeff, you can go first.
Well,
I know what the secret sauce is.
I was gonna say, obviously, when I joined the show, I think that was the no. No, I mean, I think, like I said, I listen to a lot of podcasts, I watch a lot of stuff, and a lot of people kind of do similar thing. It's more fact, I mean, not just fact based, but here's statistical things, here's kind of where they're at, the transactional type stuff. They really don't have too much like personality in it, because it's kind of like a mix of a morning sports talk show or afternoon sports talk show and a podcast. You know what I'm saying? We try to give, informational stuff. We try to give you the facts and the stuff that everybody can just find on their own. Like, you can go on clevelandbrowns.com and see that they picked up a player, or that they're trading this player. But, talking to us and listening to us talk about it, we give our opinions and kind of where we see how we feel about these moves and things like that that's going on with the Browns. And I think we do it in a way that's, what I'm saying, I like to think it's enjoyable. We try to throw a little comedy in there and have fun with it. But we know what we're talking about. I think that's really the main thing. It's just, if people didn't think we knew what we were talking about or didn't like what we said, then people wouldn't listen, or wouldn't follow. So I think a lot of it has to do with, they obviously think we know what we're talking about, so they tune in and listen to it.
So the secret, really, like I said, the OnlyFans, you get a grown man like Chef, put a bunch of stickers on the butt naked. No, but Facebook has been awesome. A big thing about it that people don't seem to remember is Facebook might be the older social media, but if you look at especially like Browns fans, we don't do too well unless the younger ones have been indoctrinated by the older types. A lot of the older types don't have like TikTok and the 40, 50-year-old people, I've been a fan since 71 and I ain't seen it. They're not, they're still learning how to do Facebook. They're not going to be on their TikTok. Now, there are some reasons to be on TikTok, but the old men don't need to be on TikTok. But that's the easiest one is, especially on Facebook, people feel, I mean, I like to think we've done a great job at building a community. I know I've said some takes on Facebook itself that got me a lot of backlash, but I've not been scared to do it. And other people, I think, take the lead of that. So like they'll say exactly how they feel. And I think we do a pretty good job. We have no moderators. And with that said, I'll probably need to get one or two. And I kind of gave that away. People are going to test me now. But like when people go out there and just be inhumane with like the comments they make towards each other, right, we're not going to play it. As simple as that. You can get blocked very easily. And Unfortunately, I did a fun thing of if you're not a Browns fan, especially if you're AFC North person, and you start trying to dog the Browns, I start taking screenshots and posting them, and letting the community kind of, it's kind of like camaraderie. We get to get around the bonfire and burn your shit, kind of like we did LeBron back in the day.
I swear, Cleveland Browns fans are too much, man. It's too much.
We're
So
like
listen,
civilized Bills fans. That's all really it is.
Right.
yeah, I mean, I think every community has their toxic fans, but they're all passionate about their teams. You got to be if you're into sports. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of people who don't like sports, but will still root for the Browns. You know what I mean? Because it's a hometown team, even though they're not watching them, they still want them to win. Because that kind of stuff brings money to the city. It brings jobs to the city. Look what LeBron did for the city while he was there. He created tons of jobs and brought millions of dollars to the city. If the Browns start winning, forget about it. The city's going to be rocking and rolling because Cleveland, first and foremost, is a football town. It's not a baseball town. It is not a basketball town. It is a football town. And I think that won't change. You have Cleveland Browns fans all over the world. There's backer bars everywhere. You'd be amazed in the cities that you wouldn't think have a Browns backer bar has a Brown. Where I'm at right now in North Carolina and Charlotte, there's a Browns backer bar here. There's a Giants backer bar here. Trust me, if a team is passionate enough and you have somebody that follows, they will build a community within another community, which is absolutely bonkers to me.
So especially like social media, we've become kind of fans or friends. We've become friendly with. There's a Browns German one all the way out. I don't remember the city. I will not disrespect it by mispronouncing or getting the wrong city. But there's a German Browns backers bar. I've become pretty friendly with the Australian dude, the Browns Down Under. I do believe they're called. If I said that wrong, I'll try better next time. But I believe in my heart of hearts is like Browns Down Under. There's a couple in the UK. It's crazy. It's ridiculous.
But that's the kind of impassioned fan base that creates opportunities like this one. Because there's a ton of podcasts out there dedicated to the Browns, but not a lot of them last because content is hard. It's one of the hardest things you can do. And we've seen that firsthand. We've been on other podcasts before. We know how it goes. Some podcasts that we've liked are gone because content is not an easy thing to do. You have to stay consistent. And I think as long as this podcast, my podcast as well, you're, in the Kardiac Dawgs podcast, stay consistent, I think we'll be around and we'll continue to build that fan base that needs to get built. So before we jump off, gentlemen, let everybody know where they can find you on social media if they want to get a hold of you.
I mean, I'm just under the. I mean, I'm on Facebook, but I don't really use that for the Kardiac Dawgs. I have a Twitter, Chef Boy Ortiz, is the Twitter handle under the Kardiac Dawgs flag, and then yeah, that's it, man. I told you I don't do too much social media. That's all I got on social media.
And do up.
Thankfully, thanks to the uniqueness of the name, which a lot of people don't seem to understand. I get a lot of questions, unfortunately, by not Browns fans, like, why that name? Because it worked. First of all, if you Google it, a lot of our stuff comes up first page on Google. That's just how it works. But most of it, Twitter, I believe, is Kardiac Dawgs Pod. Facebook it's a Facebook page. I had to search. It's Kardiac Dawgs Podcast. Instagram, Kardiac Dawgs Podcast. TikTok, same thing. It's just if I can get the name on there, it will be that because it has been a staple of everything we do. And I think as soon as Browns fans hear it, they know exactly what it's about. Plus,
And
we got one of the best logos. I'll be honest. We have, if not the best logo.
So listen, where can we listen to the Kardiac Dawgs podcast?
Yeah, if you want to catch our episodes or go back and rewatch, tell us how bad we did last season. Thankfully we're hosted through Buzzsprout, so it's just about any directory you can think of. I think that's how it works. At least that's how we were promised. I've checked it a handful of times, and we're on just about Apple, Pandora, iHeart, all that. At least that's the work I've done with them personally. So we should be there. If not, please let me know, and I'll be sure to cuss at some customer service people.
All right, gentlemen. Listen, it's been a pleasure to have you on the show. I'm glad I got to get you on so people can understand the passion behind the fandom that a lot of people just don't get. Fans can be passionate and fans can be cruel, and it's one of those things where we have to find a happy balance. And I think with the Kardiac Dawgs, there is a balance to that. So I'm gonna leave you with what I always do. If no matter what anybody says to you, if you found your purpose, live it. Gentlemen, thank you for coming on. I appreciate you. Have a good night.